Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we're the hosts of The Pint,
a pop culture podcast.
Lloyd, if you had to tell any of the people out there that might be listening to The Pint for the first time about anything unsavory or disconcerting we might do on the show, what would you warn them about?
Well, sometimes we drop spoilers, and sometimes we swear like motherfucking sailors.
Fuck yeah, we do. You heard it from him. You've been warned.
Listen in.
Hey there, everybody listening to The Pint. My name is John.
And my name is Lloyd.
And we make sure to introduce ourselves every episode as if we didn't on the last Angel episode. We apologize for that little oversight. We're so excited to talk about 15-year-old hookers.
The one time in 300 episodes, 350 episodes.
It's probably...
Yeah, we forgot.
Yeah, we did forget, though.
Because we were so horned up.
We were so horned up for Angel and her friends.
That's just wrong.
Yeah, they were going to bring us to some kind of, retraining your thoughts camp after this.
Yeah.
But this time we're talking about we're not talking about a young hooker. We're talking about a man. We're talking about Iron Man.
Iron Man.
I am Iron Man. So this episode is an insider dedication, and those are the episodes where I pick something that I know that somebody who is a Pint insider go to Patreon / The Pint.
Something like that.
Yes, it is. It's Patreon / The Pint. Go there, $2.50 a month, become an insider. Get all kinds of extra content for that. And what I do is I pick someone who's an insider, and I pick something that I know they love, or I creep on them, and I creep on their letterbox, and that's how this one came about. So Vinny, our good friend Vinny, who is the paramour of lovely redheaded stranger Laura. I almost said Lisa, and I know her name's not Lisa.
It's not Lisa. It never has been.
Never has been. I'm sorry, Lisa. I will call you Laura from now on, even though your real name's probably Lisa. So I looked at his letterbox and I said, I'm going to look at all his 5-star movies. And I went through his 5-star movies, and Vinny gave Iron Man 5 stars.
Yep.
So I said, look, we're now 300 and almost 50 episodes in. We haven't done a proper MCU movie.
I was thinking about that while researching this.
We haven't.
This is the first one.
This is the first one. I did on the Pint Insider. I did a solo episode of over on the Pint Insider. I did a solo episode on Thor: Love and Thunder. So technically, if you want to get technical, we did one, but we have never done a MCU film proper. So it's a good combination that Vinny, Lisa's boyfriend, loves Iron Man, and it was the first one. So we're at the very least, if this is the only one we do, we're doing the first one.
Yeah, it kicked off the whole MCU universe.
Kicked off the whole
MCU.
Thing.
Yeah, MCU.
Well, yeah, that's redundant.
Yeah, it's redundant.
MCU universe, the MCU Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so this is for you, Vinny. Iron Man came out on May 2nd of 2008. It was directed by Jon Favreau. Jon Favreau also directed Elf, Chef, which when I say it after Elf, I want to say Shelf.
Shelf.
And then the live action The Lion King. Mm-hmm. He also created The Mandalorian.
Good show.
If you've never heard of it, it's a Star Wars show about Boba Fett. No, it's about a Mandalorian and Grogu. So before we get into all of the actual writers of this film, we got to talk about Iron Man, right? So let's get into Iron Man.
Sure.
So Iron Man was created by 4 people. Okay, you may have heard of this one, Stan Lee.
Stan Lee.
He is the guy who wrote the original story for Iron Man. His brother, Larry Lieber, wrote the script for the first actual Iron Man story. And then on art duties, there was a guy named Don Heck and a guy named not a well-known guy, didn't do much in comics, ended up selling cars after a couple of issues or so of comics, a guy named Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
So in March of 1963, that was the cover date, Tales of Suspense number 39 came out, and that features the first Iron Man story. Don Heck is credited as designing the costume based on a cover that Kirby had drawn. Okay? The original costume, the original armor was gray, and then they changed it to gold because there were coloring issues in the printing process. Steve Ditko, who is well known for being one of the creators of Spider-Man,
Yep.
and like a notorious kind of recluse, drew a couple early issues of Iron Man. He is the person who redesigned the suit to include the red. I didn't even know that. So, I don't want to make it sound like I'm a comic expert, but I know a good amount.
Ditko, Kirby, Stan Lee,
Yeah, all jumped in on this thing. The first solo issue of Iron Man was 5 years later in 1968. Stan Lee based Tony Stark on Errol Flynn and Howard Hughes.
I could see that.
Yeah, you got kind of the swashbuckler with the mustache and that whole look. And then, of course, you get the billionaire weirdo wearing tissue boxes on his shoes.
Yeah.
We never get that really with
Smoking robe orgy guy.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
you could pull off smoking robe orgy guy.
I could.
Yeah, I think you could pull off orgy guy. I could see you with like a bird mask on.
Yeah, with a pipe or a cigar.
Pipe.
Yeah, okay.
Pipe. Bird mask on, like anonymous orgy. Like in Eyes Wide Shut, where you have to go to a door and say a word like coconuts, and they let you in, and then it's you walking through this mansion, and then just everywhere you look, it's like some guy's got like a woman on like a end table, and he's plowing her, but he's wearing like a clown mask. Yeah,
God, that's
and there's two midgets sucking on her nipples.
Yeah.
I could picture you.
But I'd be walking through. Yeah,
because you're walking through to get to the main room where the weird shit's happening. Because that other stuff's not the weird shit. That's the normal.
That's the normal shit.
That's the stuff for people that aren't allowed to get into the weird room.
Yeah.
Well, and we don't talk about the weird room here. This is like Fight Club.
It's like Fight Club.
So the writers of this film, there's a bunch. So stick with us.
Hey, do you have any of those original comics?
No. My comic collection is pretty vast, but it's mostly 80s and above. I don't really have a lot of the classic stuff.
All right.
So we got a couple of guys here that took passes at this script, and then they kind of tied in the scripts together. So we'll talk about that for a second. In 1990, they started the idea of production of a Iron Man movie. At different points, and I'm sure you'll talk about it a little bit, Tom Cruise was the guy they were talking about being Tony Stark. And from 1990 to actual production in like 2007, these are some people that had a hand in writing scripts or stories that they thought would be a script. Stan Lee himself wrote one. Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, who we talked about, they were partners who did the Pirates of the Caribbean films. David S. Goyer, who's done a million things, including the Dark Knight and stuff like that. Alfred Goh and Miles Millar, who were the creators of Smallville. Those are just some of the guys.
Damn.
Directing wise, I mentioned Jon Favreau directed it. At different points, Nick Cassavetes was attached to it for a while. And two people were approached to do it and declined. Joss Whedon, who ended up doing The Avengers.
Right.
And Quentin Tarantino.
Oh my God. I did not hear that.
At one point. Yep. And in all of these script rewrites and all these different script ideas, at one point, the Mandarin was going to be the villain of this film, and controversially, we know that he does not show up until the third film, however you want to look at that. The father of Tony Stark, Howard Stark, was going to be the villain, and it was going to be very similar to what we got here. He was going to be like an Ironmonger character, but it was not going to be Obadiah Stane. It was going to be Howard Stark.
When does he come in the second movie? To see the flashbacks when he's de-aged?
The second movie is where you see him, yeah. The de-age stuff is later, but you see him in the second movie in that, like, there's that video that he finds that, like, connects to the World's Fair.
Oh, yeah.
And then the early versions of the script actually connected the Iron Man universe to Spider-Man 2. Particularly, the idea was that we find out that Stark Industries created Dr. Octopus's arms, but because at the time of this production, Marvel broke off and Marvel Studios started, they didn't have any connection to those old Spider-Man movies. So Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby were a writing team, or are a writing team, who did things such as Children of Men, Cowboys and Aliens, and then they were the showrunners and the developers of The Expanse, which is a very popular TV show.
Yeah, we know some people who love that show.
Yeah, Lou. Shout out to Lou.
Didn't Jon Favreau also direct Cowboys and Aliens?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. He made Cowboys and Aliens. They wrote a version of the script, and then Art Markham and Matt Holloway, who are also a pair of writers, they wrote Punisher Warzone, a movie I love, and the upcoming Kraven the Hunter. So they took their two scripts, and they had a guy named John August, who is a script doctor, kind of meld their two versions of this origin script together. Mark Millar, a famous comic book writer who created the Secret Service and worked on Fantastic Four. Brian Michael Bendis, very famous comic book writer who was kind of like the head Marvel writer for a long time. Joe Quesada, who was also the editor-in-chief at Marvel, and Tom Brevoort, who is also another Marvel guy, all had say in this movie as well. All helped with little aspects of it. So you got a pretty good little bit of info there for you for the writing and how it came about. And to be totally honest with you, I did not write anything down. I'm looking at my notes now about how this was produced or where. So that's not so important every time, right?
I can tell you some filming locations.
Do it. That's exactly what I meant. I didn't have any of that.
I thought I actually wrote more, but so I got Afghanistan for obvious scenes, Las Vegas, Malibu, Santa Monica, and L.A.
If there was a stats bar here at the Pint, you would get the save on that one because I fucked up. I have to mention this because I just looked over. We're recording in Lloyd's lovely house. If you've never been here, it's a beautiful place. You have a frame on the wall with nothing in it.
Yeah, I had to get it off the floor.
Okay.
It was on the floor for too long. I have something to go in it, but I just haven't gotten around to getting it in.
It's disconcerting.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tell you that.
And it's right opposite a mirror, so you get the
I almost
endless tunnel effect of nothing.
If I started thinking too hard, I would start to think is this a fake house? But if there was more like that, I would go, it's just throwing frames up there to make people feel comfortable here until they realize that they're in a murder dungeon.
No, it's actually, I don't know, you could call that abstract light.
It is abstract.
It's just all white.
It's just white.
Monochromatic, black frame.
On a cream wall.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we got for the production of this film. Lloyd, why don't you take over with the cast?
Bring me everyone.
What do you mean everyone?
Everyone!
Unlike what I typically do and what John alluded to, I don't have any, this could have been this character or this actor or that. I didn't do any of that.
The only one really was Tom Cruise was for a very long time considered. And to the point where every time people talk about future Marvel movies, and now that Iron Man is dead, spoiler alert for a old movie, they say if they ever go to if they introduce an alternative version of it, it might be Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, I guess he could pull it off, right?
Yeah,
he pulled off, Interview with the Vampire, Vampire Lestat. So
he could do it.
He could do anything, Tom Cruise. Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark / spoiler, Iron Man.
That's right. We find this out in the very last scene for sure.
He's, industrialist, genius inventor, playboy, CEO of Stark.
He gets a lot of pussy in this movie.
He gets a lot of pussy. Like that girl in the beginning, like that.
I love how he's complete.
I love the line that he used on her.
Yeah, what does he say about?
She said something like, "Don't you ever lose any sleep over the things you do?" He goes, "Well, I'm expecting to lose a couple tonight with you."
Yeah, and it's a great male chauvinist scene too because it's like male fantasy because she is not buying any of his bullshit when he's talking to her, and then she just jumps right on top of him.
Yeah, exactly. They went right to it.
She smothers his cock with her pussy immediately.
Yeah, I loved it. So Favreau wanted to hire him because he felt basically that he could make him a likable asshole.
Yeah.
And he does that very well, but also have authentic emotional aspects to him. Plus, he liked his performance in Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yes, great
Pretty
movie.
good. Yeah. I guess so. He had an office next to Favreau. And he was included in the screenwriting process, which is, I think, where he got a lot of the humor. Yeah. Although we will find out, I think, it didn't really have a big script, this movie.
That's the thing is, all these people wrote the script, but then Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. claim that they wrote this as they went along.
Yeah.
Which, if it's true, is pretty impressive because this is a pretty solid origin story.
Pretty solid, yeah.
It's not like it's haphazard and this movie... yes, it's simple. It's the comic origin story and then kind of mixed in with some other stuff. But it's well written.
Yeah. And I guess also, he ad-libbed so many of his lines, and they filmed it with multiple cameras. But Gwyneth Paltrow had a lot of trouble with it because she's not, as quick of a wit as he is. And she's
Right.
more of an actor that, memorizes lines and didn't even know what to do half the time.
I heard, I don't know how true it is, but I've heard that the I am Iron Man line is an ad lib.
Yeah, that was an ad lib.
Like, and that's like huge to the story. Like,
Yep.
it's, an ad lib usually is a throwaway thing, but like him admitting he's Iron Man at the end, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Is such a big like giveaway for everything that's to come.
Right, and they've never done that, right?
Right.
Everything's always a secret.
Right.
All the identities are secret. So I think the first time they did it.
I think it's great that, so like in the comics in the 60s, like the idea was that Iron Man was Tony Stark's bodyguard. And I love in one of the last lines in the movie before the end is when he says, nobody's going to buy the bodyguard story.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's cool. Cool callback. You'll know Robert Downey Jr. from having a bit of a downfall in Hollywood.
He was uninsurable on this movie. Yeah.
But he came back. A great story of a comeback, I think.
Truly. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, definitely. Had a surge of commercial success into the 2000s. So he did stuff like Weird Science. He played Charlie Chaplin in that Chaplin movie. He was on Ally McBeal, Tropic Thunder, unforgettable. Yeah. And Oppenheimer. Don't know if you saw that.
I have not
last
yet.
year. But then we have Terrence Howard as James Rhodey, a friend of Tony Stark's and basically the liaison between him and the military with weapons development and such. And I guess Favreau chose him because he felt like he could play War Machine in a sequel.
He's good. He's good in this movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, he had a whole falling out with Kevin Feige. And and if you look at it for the basis idea of it is he kind of got fucked over, right? He got paid a lot of money for this movie. Robert Downey Jr. did not. The movie's a giant success. They pay Robert Downey Jr. all the money in the world.
Yep.
And then they haggle with him to be able to give it. And supposedly he says he got Downey Jr. the job or helped him get the job. And then when he was having problems, he said he couldn't get Downey Jr. to call him back.
He bailed on him.
So yeah, he's good in this though. I like him. Yes,
I like him a lot.
Everybody loves Don Cheadle,
He's
and I
like
do
the
too.
moral compass of that pair. One thing about Terrence Howard is I think he's very talented. And did he win, or was he nominated for
Hustle and Flow.
an award, Hustle and Flow?
Yeah.
So he was in Dead Presidents, Crash, Hustle and Flow, Prisoners, the TV show Empire, which I've seen one or two, but
I never watched it. But he was like the star, and it ran for several years. And now he's like a self proclaimed genius. I don't know if you've seen any of that stuff. Yeah,
but he never. I don't think he ever hit it as big as I think he could have.
No, I think this was part of the reason why.
Yeah.
I think maybe people got a bad taste in their mouth over him about this, and I don't know that I don't know the full situation, but it does seem like he kind of got like pushed out of this thing. Because he has the great line at the end with next time, baby.
Yeah, right. He looks at the suit.
With the silver suit. Yeah, the Mark I. Yeah.
Too bad for Terrence Howard.
Yeah. Too bad for the fucking millionaire.
Sorry.
He's probably
sorry, Mr. Howard.
balls deep in a gorgeous woman right now.
I'm sure.
Too bad for you, Terrence Howard.
Then we have Jeff Bridges as Obadiah Stane.
Yeah,
love that. Good name.
He's great in this.
Stane. He's Stark's business second in command. Is also his mentor and friend who turns on him.
Yeah, he's
basically.
a piece of shit.
I think that was a long con. That was a long time coming. Right?
Oh, he clearly, probably from the time Stark's father died.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I guess he did a lot of reading of the comics as a boy and liked the Favreau's approach. So he was good at that. He also, I guess, wasn't a big fan of the ad-lib stuff.
Gwyneth Paltrow, probably more classically trained actors probably have a harder time with that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And I heard a lot of his scenes were actually cut to focus more on Stark.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. I didn't know this. Maybe I knew this and then forgot, but diagnosed with non-Hodgkin lymphoma
a couple years ago.
And then shrunk his tumor, which I was reading was like 9 by 12 inches big, and he was never aware of it.
Yeah.
But it shrunk down to a size of a marble with some chemo. Also got COVID-19 during his recovery, so battled that for a while. Hopefully he's doing okay. I hope he's doing all right today.
Yeah, as far as I know. And he's like Jeff Bridges is like a national treasure. Right?
Oh, yeah.
He's awesome.
Yeah. Geez, his first movie, uncredited as infant in 1951.
Yeah, well, because his dad, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And then, so he did like King Kong, 1976, Tron Legacy. You may hear a little bit about that. Against All Odds, Starman, Jagged Edge, Big Lebowski, the dude.
He's incredible.
He's Jeff Bridges. Gwyneth Paltrow as Virginia Pepper Potts.
I'd bang her in this.
Oh yeah,
I don't
have a thing against.
I don't find
Gwyneth
her.
Paltrow.
Yeah, I think she's a weirdo. I don't find her necessarily attractive. But as I was watching this movie last night, I said, I got it for her. In this movie, she looks good.
She's good in this.
Red hair, like she's slender, tight little dresses.
Yep.
She's not necessarily what would be considered my cup of tea, but in this, she's pretty good looking.
You'd break her.
Yeah, right now, if I'd snap her. I'd snap you, Gwyneth Paltrow.
So I guess with her character and Tony Stark's, Favreau wanted to go for a 1940s kind of comedy vibe thing. I guess they got that.
They do.
There's a good vibe. I like the chemistry between them. Some things I didn't know. Again, I probably knew at one point, but Steven Spielberg is her godfather.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
And she's a second cousin of former U.S. Congresswoman Gabby Giffords.
That I didn't know.
Who was, potentially assassinated.
The one that was shot.
She survived the assassination.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Arizona, right?
Yeah, second cousin on her father's side. She was in Seven.
What's in the box? What's in the fucking box?
Shakespeare in Love, Royal Tenenbaums, Shallow Hal.
Shallow Hal, yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of other stuff. Then a few more here. Leslie Bibb as Christine Everhart, the reporter, fashion model and actor. She was also in Private Parts, Talladega Nights, The Legend of Ricky Bobby.
She's Ricky Bobby's wife.
Yeah. She was in Trick or Treat.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
You're not a fan. I'm on the fence about that one. Another one, Tag. Then we have Sean Tobe as Ho Yinsen, Stark's fellow captive who basically creates the first electromagnetic, what do you call that thing?
The electromagnet to save his life.
Yeah, to keep the shrapnel from.
Do you notice something really weird
heart?
about this character? Is that they're both they're both whatever you want to call them, political or wartime prisoners.
Yeah.
They live in a cave. They're forced to make this missile. He wears a suit.
Oh, right.
All the time.
Yep.
Would you wear a suit in an Afghanistan cave?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he just wore what he was wearing when he got captured.
But wouldn't you take the jacket off and undo the tie?
Oh, yeah.
He's wearing a fucking suit.
Yeah, you're right. I absolutely would. I hate wearing suits.
Yeah, but I wouldn't wear a suit in an Afghan cave.
Yeah.
I don't like wearing suits either. I wouldn't want to wear a suit to hey, if you got married next week, I'd gladly go, and I'd be pissed I'd have to wear a suit.
Yeah, I wouldn't even want to wear a suit to get married.
Exactly. But then if someone said, hey, wear a suit in an Afghan cave for 8 months, I'd be like, that's worse.
Right. Absolutely. Born to Iranian Jewish family in Tehran, Iran. Also lived in England, Switzerland, New Hampshire.
Oh.
He was in Hot Shots Part 2. Bad Boys, Broken Arrow, also in Crash. There's a few people in this movie in Crash, which I know you don't like that either, right?
It sucks. It's terrible. It's a bad movie.
Farhan Tahir is Raza, the leader of the Ten Rings. Paul Bettany voices Jarvis. You never see him. He said it was his best payday ever. 2 hours of work.
I'm sure that whole Marvel universe was incredible for him.
Yeah.
Because, until he shows up as Vision, he's never on screen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good payday. Went home and banged his wife after.
That's right. Jennifer Connelly is his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clark Gregg as Phil Coulson, the agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., who has his own TV show afterwards. And then Jon Favreau himself played Harold Happy Hogan.
So skinny in this movie.
Yeah, remember him in Swingers?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's known as a guy that fluctuates.
I think what I read was when he got the directing job here, he went on a diet to celebrate and lost 70 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's great. I love Jon Favreau.
He made it big, man. He started out small, right? He was in Rudy.
PCU,
Swingers.
Swingers. Swingers is great.
Yeah.
Swingers is great.
And, you're so money, baby. You don't even know it.
Yeah. I love that movie. I saw that movie too late, too. I saw that... I am the age kind of of those guys almost a couple years younger. Yeah. So I should have seen that in my 20s. I saw it in my 30s, but it's still connected.
Oh, so good.
It's still connected. Vince Vaughn is so good in that movie. That's just a great movie.
That is my favorite Vince Vaughn role. I know he's been in a lot of stuff. But
you're probably right.
Yeah.
He's so good in that. And Heather Graham has maybe never looked better than in that movie.
Oh,
she's so beautiful. Wearing the kind of the 40s style dress at the end when they go to that club and dance. Oh my God.
So good. Love that movie.
Yeah.
Then we have Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury in the post-credit scene.
Yes. Yeah. He's there to recruit.
Was this the first post-credit scene ever? It had to be, right?
Not first post-credit scene ever, but first, for obviously for
definitely
this.
for Marvel.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, I mean, it set the stage. There never has been anything without one. So,
Oh, no? Wow.
I missed a few of the newer movies, but I guarantee they've all had post-credit scenes.
I did see the latest Deadpool Wolverine movie, and I did not stay.
I did.
That.
It has a not necessary but 100% fun post-credit scene. Like it ties into something that happens in the movie,
Yep.
and it makes it funnier. But if you had to leave, go to the bathroom, you didn't like miss something like Galactus coming out of something's asshole. Like, I'm coming for you. All right, so this film starts off in Afghanistan. We're following a military convoy, and Tony Stark, right off the bat, drinking a little bit of scotch there, hanging out and talking to everybody in the Humvee, all the soldiers, about like just kind of like what he does, and we immediately get the Tony Stark that we're going to know from here on out, right?
Yeah, right away.
Right away.
Even the lines with the driver.
Yeah.
That she speaks to him. She's like, "Oh, you're a woman?"
Yeah. He's snarky. He's funny.
Yeah.
I thought I would hate to have him as a friend because he has no consideration for anybody.
Right. Absolutely not.
At all. Through 90% of this movie, there's different points where he has appointments that he just doesn't go to.
Yep.
This is a character that
he's a likable asshole.
He's a likable asshole. He is completely engulfed in his genius, right? Like, he's probably always thinking of how to make the next best thing, and we see that. But he also doesn't consider anybody else at all.
Right.
And that's part of his character arc. But man, is he frustrating, right? Like, there's a scene later in the movie where Obadiah tells him, like, you missed a board meeting. Like, you could miss, like, you could lay low from the papers, but like a board meeting you got to go to.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Right. And he's just like, yeah, okay. Like, whatever.
I don't care.
This movie is dated as being from 2008, when as he's taking a selfie with one of the soldiers, he says, I don't want to see this on your MySpace.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I caught that. That was funny.
And then all of a sudden, the lead vehicle blows up. Yep. And we see chaos. We see Tony Stark get out of the Humvee. Very, funnily enough, very starkly, we see these like characters that we were just meeting all die.
Yeah.
I had forgotten about that.
Everyone's either blown up or shot.
The one kid he took the selfie with, when he gets out of the Jeep, out of the Humvee, and shuts the door, he gets like fucking incinerated by like some kind of like bullet blast.
Tony Stark, he's sitting in the car. You see all the bullet holes.
That's what I'm saying.
Up. Yeah.
There's one shot that kills the kid and just rips bullets through this fucking thing. Stark finally gets out. And in a case of the most grand irony of all, what happens, Lloyd?
Yeah, he gets out and he's like just leaning against a rock, and a missile falls right on the ground near him. He looks at it. It's a Stark Industries missile.
Yeah, it's got his logo, his name on it.
So he turns his back to it, runs away, but gets blasted.
He gets fucking blasted. We see him hit the ground. As he hits the ground, he rips his jacket open. He's got a bulletproof vest on, as he obviously would. But you see just a lot of blood coming out of him.
Yeah. And
then we kind of go, and this is one of those movies. This is probably an earlier example of a movie that does 36 hours earlier. And we go back, we go back in time, and we start to see we learn through, I guess, this opening scene, which takes place at an event where he's getting an award that he doesn't even show up to, who he is, right?
Yeah.
So Tony Stark is essentially a child genius who his father was a war profiteer, a munitions maker. His father was partners with Obadiah Stane, the Jeff Bridges character, and Tony Stark. They say like he built his first computer chip at 4. He's a fucking prodigy.
Yeah.
And then in this great info dump, which is shown as like a video prior to a award ceremony, we learn everything about him. He's kind of like got a rock star attitude.
You see the old pictures of him.
You see the old pictures.
Like from Less Than Zero.
Yeah, they're showing stuff from like previous movies. And he supplies, our military supposedly with missiles and with everything, right? They mentioned that he has this proprietary repulsor technology, which if you know Iron Man, his beams are repulsors and all that stuff. So they go through all that. He doesn't show up to the thing. Rhodey yells at him, and we get the first kind of real look at like this guy doesn't give a shit about anybody around him. He's playing craps. He's got beautiful women with him. Pepper Potts is like, I guess you would say she's his put upon like assistant because he makes her life harder.
Oh God,
you know, but he needs her. He needs her.
He must pay her a lot because she sticks around.
She does. She does. And we also get the idea that she has a thing for him and he has a thing for her. But we get to see a little bit of his life. He lives in this, you know, insane mansion in Malibu that's run by Jarvis, which, you know, in comic book lore, Jarvis was the human butler for the Avengers.
Right.
But here he is an AI system.
What is it? Just a regular...
Oh, I don't know. Or are you thinking of
intelligent system, something like that?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's what Jarvis stands for.
All right. I was thinking about Blue Thunder with Jaffo, just another fucking observer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. We have the moment where after he brings home the Christine Everhart character and bangs the snot out of her, we have a little bit of a cat fight between her and Pepper Potts, where Pepper Potts has the great line.
Oh, what does she say?
She says, "Here's your dry cleaning. There's a car waiting for you. It'll take you anywhere you want to go." And then Christine Everhart is snotty about it, and she says, "Oh, well, you know, you do everything for him." She goes, "Yeah, and occasionally I have to take the trash out."
Yeah, that was great. But then it backs away, and you see that home. In Malibu. Holy cow!
If I hit the big lottery, I'm buying one of those houses.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's impractical. It's built on a mountain. It's got stilts, but I'm buying one anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
We see him. He's in his workshop, and he's just completely. You know, he's working on a hot rod and he's just in his thoughts, but she's telling him what you have to do for, you know, you're supposed to be halfway around the world right now. And he doesn't even want to go to Afghanistan.
No.
Which he's supposed to do. Rhodey calls him up and is like, I've been waiting on the tarmac for 2 hours. So we see all this shit. We are learning very much so that Tony Stark is a fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
But he's also important and people need him. And, you know, his industry is gigantic. And
I would say if you're a genius and you're an inventor, you're a dickhead. They just goes hand in hand.
You're aloof at the very least.
Yeah.
Right? I think you're aloof at the very least. And I think he manufactures armaments, but he thinks that it's for our side.
Yep.
Right. So finally he gets on the plane. They go over to Afghanistan. By the way, have you ever been on a plane where the stewardesses double as like strippers?
Yeah, they start stripping and drinking and That never. I've seen a couple hot ones, but never did any of that.
I just love that. I love that like they show them like giving them the sake and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden the next thing it's like just like a dance party in there.
I like how Rhodey's like, I'm not drinking sake. And then the next scene he's like totally blasted.
That was great. So they get there, and then we catch up to where we're at now.
Right.
He gives.
Is this when you see the Jericho missile, or was that before?
Here.
Okay.
Here's where you see it. So we see him do his demonstration of the Jericho missile. Describe the Jericho missile, because this scene is awesome.
Fucking amazing. So the missile takes off out of a cannon like you would normally. It's a long missile, you know, with the tails on the end, and the thing goes. But while it's taking off, going toward this target, it releases all these mini missiles.
Yeah,
and they all go together and seek out this target. And in this case, such a great framed scene.
Oh, it's
where he's
awesome.
Standing there talking about it. He's got his arms out, and you see in the background the Jericho missile just destroys a mountain range.
Yeah, and either he knew it or he had his people know it. He's standing at the like kind of limit of the shockwave.
Nobody's expecting this.
Super impressive. I love that he goes over to that like fucking that box, and it like it's hydraulic and it lifts up like scotch, and he's like, we're gonna give out one of these to every order of $500 million or more.
Yeah, right.
And then that's where we catch up to him getting in the vehicle and what happens. Now, the next part of this is that he survives that blast, but he gets taken and tortured by what turns out to be this terrorist group called the Ten Rings.
Yeah.
That had everybody back in 2008 all excited because the Mandarin has 10 rings. So people were like, oh, this is going to be the Mandarin. It's not. It wasn't. But it's this terrorist organization. And Manster, he meets his friend, the scientist who saved his life. Right. How?
Yinsen. He saved his life by taking as much shrapnel as he could out of him, but then making this electromagnetic device that he hooked up to a car battery, and it just keeps all the shrapnel from going into his heart.
One problem with this movie is I sell car batteries for a living.
Yeah.
He carries it around way too easily.
Yeah, he does. I noticed that.
We sell a battery like that, which look like a 65 series.
Yeah, they're pretty heavy.
Usually has a handle.
Yep.
But those are pretty heavy. He's holding it like cradled like an infant.
Yeah.
And he's carrying it around way too easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the battery.
Plus, it's so dirty in that fucking cave, you know?
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
But anyway.
And again, Yinsen's in a fucking suit. So.
Yeah, right.
So these two guys are put together, and they're told by the head of the Ten Rings that we need you to create a Jericho missile.
Yeah.
And you're going to do this for us, and we're going to give you whatever you need. And at first, Tony Stark's like, nope, not doing it. They torture the shit out of him. They waterboard him. They dunk his head into a fucking toilet. They do all kinds of crazy shit.
What if I refuse, right? Or I decline, or whatever it was.
Yeah, not an option.
Yep.
So Yinsen's like, okay, let's do this. They start working together, but immediately Tony has a different idea. The first thing he does is he upgrades his chess piece.
His arc reactor.
Arc reactor.
Yeah, that's it.
Which is a technology that he says that they have back at home. There's a giant arc reactor at his facility, which they discuss later on because he wants to use it. Later in the movie, he wants to use it as an application over other things, and the Jeff Bridges character's like, it's not, viable. But he makes his own arc reactor to save his life. So what's happening is that chess piece he has that lights up, it's pulling the shrapnel like a magnet away.
Yeah.
So the first thing he does is that.
So I guess those little barbs and everything that are in there, they just must go down the bloodstream, right? Into the heart.
That's what he said.
Attacks the organs.
That's what Yinsen said was when he shows him the shrapnel, he says, the people in my village that this happens to, we call them the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Because within a week, your body sucks the shrapnel into like your heart.
Yep.
Or sucks it into your lungs or sucks it into your liver and it kills you. So he decides that he shows Yinsen some blueprints and it's clearly a suit. It's clearly a piece of armor.
Yeah, those blueprints, they're on onion skin, right?
Yeah.
And there's like 4 or 5 of them and they're overlaid. To be secretive, so they don't see the plans.
Yeah. So
it was brilliant. It was beautiful. Being into like mechanical drafting and stuff myself.
Right.
I love plans like that. So I really liked it. It could never possibly do that in their setting, but I liked it.
I'm going to find that.
I mean, where is there a flat enough surface to write on that onion skin, which is super, super thin, and not poke through it?
Yeah. Well, Tony Stark figured it out.
Yeah, sure.
So they start to take the parts of what they're supposed to use to make this missile with. They're being watched, right? But like they do it subversively, and they create this this suit. And it finally gets to the point where he has to use it to escape. What happens, Lloyd? I don't know if I nodded off for 2 minutes. I know I certainly nodded off later in the movie and had to go back a little bit. But what happens to Yinsen? Does Yinsen get killed by these guys?
Yeah, so, he starts the procedure. Tony's in the suit, and so he can't move or like touch buttons on the keyboard. So Yinsen does it, and he says, all right, hit Control-I, hit this, do that. And you see that loading bar?
Yes.
Not a spinny circle, but a loading bar. And it only gets to like not even the halfway point. And the 10 Rings guys, they're coming in. And Yinsen's like, there's no way we have enough time. So he goes out there and he just goes out shooting, but not shooting at anybody. He's shooting up into the top of the cave.
Okay.
And he gets out to the end of the cave and, he sees, he comes across people while doing that. And they just light him up.
Okay.
And he does fall. He doesn't die right away, but
all right. Let me correct that. I certainly slept through that entire scene.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think I woke up. I definitely saw him when Stark comes out and is flamethrowing everything. Yeah. So he comes out and he just takes care of most of these guys. Not all of them. He injures the leader, and a lot of these guys get away. But then we see like the coup de grace is he's able to fly.
Yep.
He takes off into the sky.
Those flamethrowers were awesome. I just rewatched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
And that is like my favorite flamethrower in a movie scene, but this is like second.
Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah.
He lights these dudes up. He takes off. He probably gets maybe like a mile away in the sky, and then the suit craps out.
Yeah.
And he does a fucking like just straight into the ground.
Yeah.
Suit breaks apart.
Like being encased in a suit of iron and then hitting the ground. Holy shit.
Yeah. And in Afghanistan, in the heat, that probably could have been too comfortable. He gets rescued, right? He ends up getting rescued.
Yeah.
They take him back to America, and he has a press conference. Like he makes everybody sit down on the ground. He wants a cheeseburger. I know that it's product tie-in, but if I was in Afghanistan and they say months, it ain't Burger King. Right. I'm not going to Burger King.
So there is a story about that. You want to hear it?
Tell me the story.
So I have it written down somewhere. I think it was 2003. He was down and out.
Yeah.
And his life was a total mess. And he went to a Burger King and got some cheeseburgers. and said it was the worst cheeseburger he ever had, and actually rethought his life because of the cheeseburger.
That's about right.
And dumped his car full of drugs into the ocean. And from that point on, that was the turnaround in his life.
So that's why?
Yeah, that's why Burger King.
Okay. Oh, so it wasn't products. Okay. Because I think about that. Like, okay, if I was away for 8 months and first thing I wanted was a cheeseburger and someone said, okay, we'll pull it in here. I'd be like, listen, you pull to that Burger King.
Right.
I'm going back to the fucking,
I'm going to kill you myself.
I'm going to the cave.
We're going to Five Guys or something like that.
Anywhere. Yeah. Honestly, I know people are going to listen to this and go, boo, McDonald's. I would rather eat a McDonald's hamburger. That I know people love Burger King. Like I've worked next to a Burger King for 15 plus years.
It does smell good next to a Burger King. It
smells good, but like their food is just, I don't know, their fries, everything. I'm not a Burger King fan. Wendy's, McDonald's, let's hit there. If you're going to get a little bit better, Five Guys, even a Jake's Way Back, something like that. Yeah. But so he sits down and he basically announces, like he doesn't talk to Obadiah Stane, who's his business partner. He just announces like, we are done with wartime manufacturing, because he saw that like his stuff is getting
his own products are out there
getting into the hands of the wrong people. Yeah. Now we find out as the movie goes along that it's because Obadiah is selling it to them.
Sure. Yep.
He's a piece of fucking human garbage, and Obadiah tries to stop him. And okay, Tony's back. That's all that matters. He's okay. I love how one of the lines he says, he's healthier than ever. He's clearly not. His arm's all fucked up. He's all beat up. And then he just kind of like, he's had this total character change moment.
Yep.
Right. But as he has this character change moment, it's not out of boredom, but he just starts to work on things. He starts to work on the next level of this suit. And this is, I think, such a great bunch of scenes, especially for comic book fans, because you get to see like the evolution of.
Is this where you see him, go 10% of the blast power?
Yes.
Yeah. He flips around.
And I gotta say, it works every time for me. I see this movie. I haven't seen it in a while. Is his interaction with the arm droids that help him out.
Oh yeah.
The one that keeps on like hitting him with the fucking fire extinguisher. If I'm not on fire and you spray me one more time, I'm donating you to a community college.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful.
Yeah. Some really great stuff.
Iron Man suits, by the way, were designed in terms of like the drawings by Adi Granoff, who drew the Extremis arc of Iron Man written by Warren Ellis a few years before this movie came out. He had a very specific look for Iron Man.
Very sleek.
Very
awesome
sleek.
Look.
And that's what these suits are based on.
Yep.
So we start to see him just working on little things, trying to figure out how to make this thing fly. But as it's also happening, we also see that he's being very aware of what's happening over in, I can't remember the name of the country. It's a fake country, like, Gustapacan or something.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Yeah.
Gustapacan.
At one point, he sees a news report that shows that a village has been raided by this 10 fingers.
10 fingers, I love it.
This has been raided by the 10 rings, and they're using his weaponry against these poor people, right? So he gets to the point, Manster, after much trial and tribulation,
right,
where he gets like the classic gold and red armor look, and
it's awesome.
And he has a moment when he's watching on TV this whole thing where they're talking about these people getting killed, where he, for the first time, he like uses the fucking the repulsor rays.
Yeah, you see he's like breaking, he's busting windows and
blowing windows out, blowing light fixtures off, and he decides he's going to go over and take care of it.
He's going to fucking fly to 10 Finger Stand.
Yeah. So what happens in 10 Finger Stand when he gets there, Master?
He just fucking fucks people up.
Dude, let's just go over some of the armament, like some of the technology he's got, like, because this is like base level comic book fan stuff.
Let's see what I can remember. Other than his repulsors on his hand,
yeah,
he's got those nifty little shoulder,
like bullets,
like they pop out of his shoulder, and he's got a targeting system. So they've got a bunch of guys holding a bunch of hostages. Of course, he can't blast them with the repulsors, so he fucking targets them each, and every one of them goes down with one shot.
I love the fact that like it comes out and it's just one shot each.
Yeah. Yep.
And they all go down. Basically, some fisticuffs. He punches dudes across the fucking.
Oh yeah, that was great too.
Great stuff. And then finally, he gets the guy. There's one guy in particular, not the lead guy, but like the second guy, who was one of his captors, and he throws him to the crowd essentially.
Yep.
And is like, he's yours. he takes off, but as he's flying away, what
Over
happens?
the shoulder look.
Yeah, as he's flying away, do you remember what happens?
What did he do?
He gets hit with a tank round.
Oh, that's right.
Tank round takes him the fuck down.
Yeah.
And then we have another great scene where he gets up, he sees the tank, and he just lets like a missile loose. And then as he's walking away,
yeah, he turns the other way, and it happens behind him.
blows the fucking tank right up to shit.
Yeah.
What did you think of him flying back and Rhodey and him talking on the phone?
A little weird to me. I liked it, but Rhodey knows it's him, right?
Well,
They're
Rhodey
saying-
feels like he knows it's
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
they see a bogey out there. There's two Raptors, like Y-22s, F-22s.
Yeah.
And those are fantastic military planes. They're amazing. I worked on engines for those.
Don't say shit's gonna get me
I won't-
killed.
I won't
Don't
say
say shit's
anything
gonna
else.
get me killed.
Won't say anything else. But they can do some amazing shit, which you can see. But yeah, and then he does some maneuvers to get away from them. He does the typical, you got a heat seek missile, you shoot flares. But then he ends up grabbing underneath the belly of one of them.
Yeah, he's
Somehow hangs on during the maneuvers, but gets shaked off.
He gets shaked off, and then he ends up getting hit by one of the two jets and shears the wing off.
That would have fucking destroyed him. But anyway,
Well, not Iron Man. Not Iron
guess.
Man. He ends up saving the pilot because the pilot bails, but the parachute won't come out.
yeah.
He ends up saving the pilot. Now, we didn't mention this before. This happened before, but it's important to the end of the movie, which we're getting towards, is what is, like, when he was doing all of his testing of the Iron Man armors, and he gets to the final version of the armor, what is the one weakness he discovered in flight?
He went up really high at one point and discovered he's got an icing problem.
You go
So
too
the
high.
atmosphere, you go too high, it's colder and it ices up. And then he falls down. He's able to break out of it. But
He all the systems shut off. Like,
yeah,
how fucked would that be?
yeah, that's messed up.
Yeah, and then he manages to...
Yeah, and he certainly does use that later.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He uses it to his own benefit because he's smart. But he got into trouble with that because he's Tony Stark. Because remember, it's his first time flying the suit, and he says to Jarvis, "What's the record for like altitude?" And they're like, by a double winged vehicle, it's blah blah blah. And he's like, "I'm gonna break it."
Yeah.
His first fucking.
I don't know
try.
how. I'm not sure what the propulsion is based on, but he goes from Malibu to 10 finger stand
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Very quickly. Very quickly.
I don't know what that is.
It's got to be something because maybe 10 episodes ago I did Iron Eagle with Joey from So Wizard, and they fly from, I think, California to another fake Middle Eastern country, but they say it's a 6-hour flight.
Yeah.
They say, like, they're going to be flying for 6 hours. And I thought that last night when I watched this. I'm like, how long did it take him to get there?
Yeah.
We kind of, people are kind of like, they don't know it's him, but like now there's this whole thing about like the U.S. government has to deny that they had people out in, 10 finger stand and all this stuff. Meanwhile, we see for sure that Obadiah Stane's a bad guy. He's got this pretty cool tech where he can make people's fucking like go paralyzed and like their veins start to pop out.
He plays a tone or something, right?
It's like a tone, and he's got like fucking earbuds in.
It's like almost like Men in Black, but a
Yeah,
little different.
the 10 fingers guys, the 10 rings guys, recovered the pretty much entirety of the original Mark I Iron Man suit from the sand.
Right.
He gets it, and we don't see him do it, but he basically has it rebuilt into something. Little cameo for everybody who doesn't know is there's a scene where he's arguing with the scientist.
Oh yeah.
And the scientist is like, "Well, we just can't figure it out." And
He's like, we don't have the technology.
Tony Stark did this with no tools in a cave. And then the guy says, well, we're not Tony Stark.
Yeah.
That's Ralphie from Christmas Story.
Oh, is that
Peter
wow.
Billingsley.
Oh, cool.
He's a really good friend of Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau's, and he was in a movie with them, Couples Retreat, a few years ago. So that's him. Tony himself kind of comes back out of like his little reclusion. He has Pepper go, and she steals files. What were the files she stole again?
She downloads some files on his computer.
She downloads stuff that basically indicates that Stane's doing bad
to
things.
see like how they got the weapons or something like that, and it implicates Stane.
Stane basically tells Tony that the board decided to lock him out, but then he goes one step further and is like, "I'm the one that locked you out. Like, we have to make sure everything's safe." So we're heading towards these two guys being, this is going to be like the kind of the final fight here.
Yeah, the showdown.
The showdown.
I like how there's not that there's no villain, But there's no like foreign country villain. No one's trying to take over the world or anything like that.
Yeah, it's
just like stuff that really happens in real life without the Iron Man part.
Okay, I was glad you said
without
that.
The
I
Iron
got
Man
nervous
part.
for a second.
And then some guy who something goes to his head. So.
It's business. It's like business related espionage.
Yeah, exactly.
So he decides to come and he does the thing to Tony where he uses his little machine on Tony and fucks Tony up. And he steals the arc reactor from Tony.
Right out his chest.
Right out of his chest. And Tony is dying. And he took the arc reactor because he's going to use it in his suit. He basically does the Bond thing.
He built that fucking reverse engineered massive suit.
So fast.
So fast.
So fast.
With limited... He's no Tony Stark.
And the other part is that I'd never realized, like in most of the scenes when they're fighting, how much bigger it is.
Oh, yeah.
But when they're in the air, when they're fighting in the air... It's like 6 times bigger than Iron Man. It's so fucking big. So he basically tells him the whole thing and he leaves him to die. Now, there is another arc reactor that Pepper had helped Tony change out earlier, but it's inside of a little like case.
Right. The original Mark 1.
The original Mark 1. Rhodey shows up and is able to help Tony before he dies get it back into his chest. Tony suits up and he goes to Stark Industries.
Right.
Because I don't even remember why, but
I think isn't Coulson or isn't somebody out there to check up, and Pepper Potts is with them.
Yeah, Coulson. Pepper Potts tells Coulson that Stain is the bad guy.
Yeah, they know Stain's a bad guy, and they're looking for it. And she sees something, and she's like, "Oh, I thought it would be bigger."
Yeah,
but she didn't really see.
Yeah, and then at one point, it's almost like a horror movie. She sees like him like come out of it, and the eyes light up.
And again, there's another Hellraiser room.
Yeah, you're right.
Just chains from the ceiling everywhere.
Yeah, what's up with these chains everywhere? The Alien, Hellraiser, this one.
Yeah.
I love the design of the Ironmonger suit. I think it's fucking great.
It's so fucking cool and tough and robotic.
I have a Marvel 3 3/4 action figure of it. It's so cool looking. It's basically like an updated. It's a bigger and cooler looking version of the Mark 1.
Yeah.
Where all the marks that Tony did afterwards are all sleek and like kind of like aerodynamic. These things are like, I'm going to fucking run through a wall.
I forgot. Shit. I had a couple of those metal figurines that I was going to bring out.
Oh, we'll play with them later.
Yeah, we'll do it later.
We'll smack our cocks together and then play with those. One of the scenes I love, so they have this big fight, right? This is like kind of like what we're going to get with a lot of the Marvel movies where it comes up to this like final fight between, and that's comic books, man. I mean, that's what people expect. They have this fight where they're fighting in the street. Ironmonger throws a car at him, and Tony has to save the people in the car. It's a family. I thought one of the most impressive bits of like maybe like effects wise was when Ironmonger takes off to fly after Tony. Mm-hmm. It's like Tony's is just like this like clean propulsion thing, and he's just like black smoke and like he's so heavy. He's lifting off the ground, and so they end up fighting in the sky, but Tony.
Right. So Tony's got his Mark 1 reactor, which is not fully powered.
Right. He's only at like 25% or something.
Yeah, he's at a limited percent of what the real Iron Man suit has. So that's why the Ironmonger can catch up to him.
Right. Ironmonger catches up to him in the sky, but then Tony says to him, right, what did you figure out your problem?
Yeah, so they go high enough. Nobody knows what Tony's doing except for Tony. Even Jarvis is like, keeps giving him the updates. We're down to like 2%. He's like... Stop giving me updates. Just put it on screen.
Which I love because I hate when I use my phone's maps.
Yeah.
I wish it just... I understand the reason why. They don't want you to look at your phone.
Yeah.
But I hate when she fucking interrupts like a podcast or music I'm listening
all the time.
to.
Right.
Take a left on Boylston.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, shut up. I wish it just said it. I don't want to hear your fucking voice, bitch.
I turn off the... you can go to the guidance audio and just turn it to alerts only.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't tell you any directions, but it gives you some alert in case there's something.
Like there's a fire.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. So he freezes up and starts to drop out of the sky. They both land back on the roof of this building that has the arc reactor. Tony is telling Pepper, I need you to set the arc reactor off.
When Tony fell,
he
had like 0 power left. He went into like emergency reserves.
Yes.
How'd you like his fall, the way he broke his fall?
How did he break his fall?
He kept falling and then like doing a little propulsion at a time, sort of slowly. That's totally what I would think of doing.
Yeah.
It's just a cool little effect.
It is. Oh, the Iron Man effects in this movie are incredible. Like just all the little things. Like just from everything in this movie, from how he puts it on, like with the machine that like, you know, puts it on him.
Yeah, I designed it so it could be taken off.
Right. And then, like, when he's having to take it out, all that stuff, every little bit, like, you know, seeing kind of like when he's flying, how some of like, there's like little flaps at different points. It's fantastic. It really
And
is
it only
fantastic.
gets better from there as far as the technology of the suit.
And as we go further along in the movies, I mean, it does get science fiction extreme, you know, when it starts to get like liquid, you know, coming out of his pores, but whatever. So they land back down and he's told Pepper, I need you to set off like an EMP essentially from the arc reactor. And she's like, I can't do that because it's going to kill you, right? Like it's going to turn off your arc reactor. And he's like, I need you to do it. He ends up, in like kind of a physical fight. He ends up ripping out a bunch of wiring from the back of Ironmonger. He gets knocked through this like kind of glass ceiling window.
Yeah, like a round glass.
Yeah, he's hanging from it.
Yeah.
But Ironmonger can't hit him because you ripped out my guidance system, Tony. So he's trying to shoot him, but he can't because he's basically just...
Yeah, he's aiming, but shots are just going
He's shooting missiles. They're hitting like doorways and shit. So finally he tells Pepper, you have to do this now. And she does. She hits it, and we see like this fucking... We see this
it's like the arc reactor in reverse, right?
It basically reverses.
Yeah.
We see this beam of light go into the sky. I don't understand, though. I'll be honest with you.
I don't know how he survives it.
Okay, how he survives it is one thing. What kills Jeff Daniels? I'm sorry, what kills Jeff Bridges? Jeff Bridges doesn't have a... Like, if they had said he had a pacemaker or something, it would make sense.
Right. Does he get blown into the sky and then just fall?
No.
No?
The beam goes off, right? Ironmonger shuts down, but he's like dead in the seat. So either I missed when Tony Stark deflects some of the bullets that get shot at him. I don't know if he got shot.
Maybe it goes from one arc reactor to the other.
The only thing I could think of, and they didn't show it well enough, is maybe he got electrocuted.
Yeah.
Maybe it fried him. But like, unless I completely like missed a second, which is always a possibility here on the Pint. We fall asleep a lot. But like, I just don't know what killed him because he dies and then the Ironmonger just falls through the ceiling. Right.
Yep. You just got to go with it because you don't need to explain it.
Right. And then it goes right to the press conference. And right where Phil Coulson comes out and tells him we'll be in touch.
Yeah. Just follow the script.
Follow the script. You got a minute and a half. The bodyguard is Iron Man's your bodyguard. Don't fucking ad lib. And by the way, even though he's been saying strategic, all that stuff, at the end he says, you can call us S.H.I.E.L.D. from here on out.
Yeah, right.
And Tony Stark goes out and he does the press conference, and he starts off and he's trying to give like the whole story, like what happened to Obadiah Stane, and the idea is, he was on like a vacation and his plane went down. And then he just says, he goes, I am Iron Man. Like, I am Iron Man.
I am Iron Man.
And the movie ends right there. And then you
get the music, Iron Man by Black Sabbath.
Yes. And then if you fast forward a little bit, you get the scene where he comes home from that, and Nick Fury is in his living room looking out his giant fucking window, which we know that by paying attention to like what we know he must be a badass, because how do you get in that house with Jarvis?
How'd you get in there?
Right. How did you get in that house? And he tells him, and this is what starts, a string of like 30 movies is, I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative.
Yep.
And including me, I'm sure, in 2008, every fucking like comic nerd came in their pants. They had already come in their pants multiple times through the course of this movie. And then when...
there's only dribbles left.
Yeah, there's one... I've got just so much left in the... there's Samuel... Oh, my... So that's 2008's Iron Man. That's for you, Vinny. Thank you for your patronage.
Thank you, Vinny.
We appreciate you. We love you. Let's talk about the box office, Master.
Show me the money.
Just looking good, but I think I'm taking too long. Back to the spot for a Glock. I took a loss over floss, but still got a knock.
Money!
All right, let's talk about the box office. Iron Man had a budget of $130 million. I think maybe 140 with promotions and stuff. In its opening weekend, we're talking May 2nd, 2008, it made $98.6 million.
Yeah.
Pretty good for an opening weekend. Domestically on the year, it made $318.6. And worldwide, 585. That's more than $500 million.
Yeah, well, we're 15 years later and we're 30 movies deep or whatever it is, 25. I don't know what it is.
So for that weekend, I'll give you a top 5. Forgetting Sarah Marshall, number 5. Do you remember that?
Great movie.
What was that? Russ Brand?
Russell Brand.
Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Funny movie. Number 4. I know you like these characters. Harold and Kumar Escape Guantanamo Bay.
I love those movies. All 3 of them. First one's classic. All the other 2 are good.
Yeah. Number 3, Baby Mama.
Oh, I saw that. That's Amy Poehler and Tina Fey. It was
those
fine.
2 are good combination. Number 2, Maid of Honor. Not made like MAID.
I think that's
MAD.
J-Lo. Yeah, I don't do J-Lo.
And number 1, obviously Iron Man at 98.6. No one's going to top that for a weekend. And on the year, number 5 was WALL-E. It's a good movie. You cry in that movie, right?
Every time. I can't watch that movie. It emotionally cripples me.
Yep. Number 4, another superhero movie, Hancock.
Yeah, not great.
Kind of weird, different kind of superhero.
Yeah.
Number 3, one of your favorites, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
It's tolerable.
We gave it tolerable.
It's tolerable. And after seeing that last one, I'm still up in the air about how I feel about the 2 of them. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think they're interchangeably not great.
Yep. Number 2, Iron Man, and number 1, another superhero movie,
The Dark Knight, right?
The Dark Knight.
Yeah. It's hard to remember that those 2 came out like within a month or 2 of each other. But yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. All right. Let's rate this thing.
Are those your grades?
Yeah. I don't think that I deserved an F. Do you?
0 to 5, 0 being the worst thing ever, 5 being the best thing ever, quarter and half scalar optional. I just didn't know words for a second there. I'll go first. So Robert Downey Jr. is great in this movie. You know what the MCU did that was really important to start with is they loaded their cast on their first movie. They made it clear that we're not going to just put someone in, a recognizable face in the driver's seat and then surround him with nobodies. You get Robert Downey Jr., you get Jeff Bridges, you get people like Terrence Howard, who even might not have been as recognizable, was a Oscar nominee.
Yeah.
Right? You get Gwyneth Paltrow, who, whether you like her or not, is a fairly large actress. People know her. And then in like the supporting roles, Samuel L. Jackson in one scene, but what the fuck is the guy's name who plays Phil Coulson?
Greg. Something Greg.
Greg, yeah. Clark Gregg.
Clark Gregg.
He's great. He's always been great. So they stacked the cast, even like I said, little roles. That was very important. If this movie was written by committee or written while it was made, this movie gets credit because I couldn't tell that by watching this. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's got a definitive beginning, a definitive ending. I feel like it kind of moves along at a good pace. I don't think, for me, there's not a lot of story problems. I get it. This is like the kind of the beginning of the MCU where people are like, well, they got weak villain syndrome. I don't even think the villain in this is weak. I think it's one of those ones where, we get the villain who's kind of close to the hero, and then we get like a very this versus this fight. And of course, like in a Hulk movie, it would be Hulk versus Abomination. And in this, it's 2 guys in iron suits.
It's the formula for, Marvel villains.
2 guys in iron suits fucking each other up. The CGI looks great. The special effects look really great. The practical stuff looks great. The humor is good. This movie's funny all the way through. I mentioned Downey Jr. He kills it, right? This is a guy whose career was essentially over. His life was essentially over. And he basically reinvented himself.
Yeah.
He didn't just reinvent himself. He reinvented the character of Tony Stark, because you cannot read a Marvel comic today without it reading like you're reading this version of Tony Stark. Like he influenced the comics, or
absolutely
his portrayal influenced the comics to today. So that being said, Vinny gave it a 5. And I do respect Vinny's opinion. I'm not going to go as high as 5, but I'm going to say I think this is. I haven't seen all of them. I've missed maybe 5 or so in the last couple of years. I'm going to say this is in my top 10 Marvel films. I'm going to go 4.5. This is a 4.50. I enjoy this movie. I have a really good time with it. And I think that they should be, well, they're clearly happy with it, but like they set this universe off in the right course with a very fun, adventurous movie. So that's my opinion. Manster, what do you got?
Right. One thing I wanted to mention, we didn't ever say Stan Winston worked on special effects.
He did.
This was the last special effects film that he did before his death.
Yeah, he died right after this, yeah.
Yep. So this film basically was a great comeback by Robert Downey Jr., like you said, and spectacularly launched the MCU.
Yeah.
Right? I think, what would have happened if it didn't do as well? What would have happened with that whole MCU? You have to wonder if they didn't have this particular movie.
I like the Incredible Hulk movie with Edward Norton. Most people don't. It came out a month after this.
Yeah.
What if that came out first? That people would have gone to see it and would have been like, maybe I'm done already with this. You know, and again, they had to, like, one of the things I read was they had to like go out and they had focus groups asking people about what they thought of Iron Man. Because even though he's a big Marvel character, to average Joe, he's not. You know how? And they said the biggest thing they found was how many people thought he was a robot. Oh, yeah. He wasn't even a real person. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Yeah, crazy. I think this is one of the most grounded films, if that makes any sense.
I do. Yeah.
The story, the characters, and it set a standard for the MCU. You know, that was hard to duplicate. They've done a few pretty good movies since then, but this to me is definitely in the top. You say top 10, maybe even a little higher than top 10, top 5. The chemistry with Downey and Paltrow, I thought was pretty good. You know, it kind of had that Rachel Ross, you know, will they, won't they kind of vibe. So I sort of like that. And Downey, he just makes that character work. You know, his Tony Stark's dialogue. He just slips right into that persona so well, and he totally sells it. So, and then the supporting cast around him is not like that. So they let him shine, and I think they all shine too. You know, it's just a really good film. And the suits are amazing. The sleekness, I like how the contrast between the suits. So you got the big giant warmonger suit, and in this movie anyway. Jeff Bridges seems like he towers over Tony Stark.
Yeah.
It's just got that persona, and the suit totally matches it. And Downey's suit is just, you know, like sleek and smart. And
it's like a hot rod.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So all of that's good. I couldn't give this a 5. I don't think it's the perfect movie, but I think it's an absolutely great movie. The perfect way to start this franchise, and I totally agree, and I give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Ooh, buddy, that's a high score. 4.5. Yeah. All right. So, Vinny, thank you again for giving us this, and you know, I'm sure as time goes on, we'll dip our toes back into the MCU. But yeah, we're never gonna do like let's do everyone. There's too many.
No,
there's too many.
We are not that podcast.
No.
There are other podcasts out there.
Yes, go. If you want to listen to some good episodes. Our friends at Forgotten Cinema a few years ago did yet another MCU podcast. Yep. They only got to, I think, around Endgame. I don't think they did anything after that, but good show.
Yeah, they did phase, 1 through 4?
I don't even know. I think we're on 5 now. I don't know
where we are.
I don't know. I don't pay. I saw Deadpool Wolverine because I wanted to. But
Same here.
It's very much for me now not important for me to go see these. It's more of like, oh, I like these characters and this one looks pretty good. I'm going to go check it out.
Yep.
But yeah, otherwise I really don't care too much. And I'm not even a Deadpool fan. Like I just wanted to see I wanted to see all the cameos. I wanted to see like the craziness of that movie. And it was a fun movie. So it was worth seeing. All right, Master, tell everybody where they can find us.
Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Spotify, all your podcatchers, anyone you like. Facebook and YouTube, it's The Pint, a pop culture podcast. Instagram and Threads, it's at The Pint Podcast. And as John so eloquently said before, patreon.com/The Pint to be an insider.
I'm currently taking a picture of the frame on Lloyd's wall that's empty, and I'll put that up with this episode so you can all see what a fucking creep he is. All right, see ya.
Bye.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!